An octopus once escaped from a sealed aquarium by squeezing through a pipe no wider than its own eye. In another case, an octopus learned the feeding schedule of a research laboratory and quietly slipped into neighboring tanks at night to steal fish before returning unnoticed. Aquarium staff have reported octopuses unscrewing jars from the inside, dismantling filtration equipment, and even recognizing the people who cared for them. Some individuals appeared friendly toward certain keepers, while spraying water at others they seemed to dislike. Stories like these spread quickly because they sound almost unbelievable. Most people hear them and reach the same conclusion. Octopuses are simply very intelligent. It seems like a reasonable explanation. After all, they solve puzzles, use tools, camouflage themselves with astonishing precision, and learn from experience. Compared to many other marine animals, they appear remarkably curious about the world around them. But marine biologists who have spent decades studying octopuses have arrived at a far stranger question. Are octopuses merely intelligent, or did evolution create a kind of mind unlike almost anything else on Earth? The deeper scientists investigated these animals, the more unusual the answers became. To understand why, it helps to begin with something most people never think about. What exactly is an octopus? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. It is simply another sea creature living on the ocean floor. Yet almost every part of its biology challenges expectations. Unlike fish, an octopus has no rigid skeleton. Its body is almost entirely soft tissue, allowing it to compress itself through openings barely larger than its beak. A fully grown octopus can disappear through cracks that seem physically impossible, emerging on the other side without injury. Its blood is blue instead of red because it relies on copper-based molecules to transport oxygen rather than iron-based hemoglobin. It possesses 3 hearts instead of 1. 2 pump blood through the gills, while a third circulates oxygen-rich blood throughout the rest of the body. Even more remarkably, that main heart briefly stops beating whenever the animal swims, which is one reason octopuses often prefer crawling across the seafloor rather than traveling long distances through open water. Each discovery seems unusual on its own. Together, they begin to paint the picture of an animal that evolved along an entirely different path. But the greatest surprise lies hidden inside its nervous system. Most intelligent animals process information through a highly centralized brain. Humans do, dogs do, dolphins do, birds do. An octopus does not. Although it possesses a large central brain, nearly 2/3 of its neurons are located somewhere else entirely, inside its arms. Each of its 8 arms contains dense networks of neurons capable of processing information independently. Researchers have observed arms continuing to explore objects, solve simple movement problems, and react to their surroundings even when they are no longer receiving direct commands from the central brain. In a sense, each arm possesses its own limited decision-making abilities. That changes everything. Instead of one brain controlling 8 limbs, scientists believe an octopus operates more like a network of cooperating intelligence, spread throughout its body. Imagine trying to understand the world while 8 different parts of your body constantly gathered information, solved problems, and interacted with the environment at the same time. It is an entirely different way of experiencing reality. Researchers sometimes describe this as distributed intelligence, not because each arm thinks like a separate animal, but because control is shared rather than concentrated. For humans, this idea feels deeply unfamiliar. Our brains command our bodies from a single central location. An octopus appears to negotiate with its own body continuously. That realization forced scientists to reconsider one of biology's oldest assumptions. Perhaps there is more than one successful way to build an intelligent mind. The evidence continued to grow. Laboratory experiments revealed that octopuses could solve increasingly complex puzzles after only a few attempts. Some learned to open containers that required multiple coordinated actions. Others remembered successful solutions weeks later, suggesting that their behavior was based on learning rather than instinct alone. Curiosity soon became another recurring theme. Unlike many animals that investigate only food or danger, octopuses frequently explore objects with no obvious survival value. Divers have watched them manipulate shells, bottles, cameras, and unfamiliar equipment for extended periods before quietly returning to their hiding places. The behavior resembles investigation more than necessity. Scientists find that detail particularly interesting because curiosity is often associated with flexible intelligence. An animal willing to explore unfamiliar situations can discover entirely new solutions when conditions change. In unpredictable environments, curiosity becomes an advantage rather than a distraction. Yet even this explanation leaves an uncomfortable question unanswered. Why does an octopus sometimes appear to solve problems it has never encountered before? That mystery would eventually lead researchers into one of the most fascinating areas of modern animal cognition: the experiments that changed everything. For many years, researchers believed that the remarkable behaviors of octopuses could be explained through simple trial and error. Given enough time, almost any intelligent animal can eventually solve a puzzle. But certain experiments suggested something more complicated. In one laboratory, scientists presented octopuses with transparent containers holding live crabs. The food was clearly visible, but reaching it required several precise movements. The animals first explored the container with the tips of their arms, testing its shape and resistance. Then, after only a few attempts, many discovered exactly how to twist the lid open. That alone was impressive. What surprised researchers even more was what happened later. When the same animals encountered similar containers days or even weeks afterward, they often solved the problem almost immediately. They weren't starting over. They appeared to remember the solution. Memory is common throughout the animal kingdom. Rats remember mazes. Birds remember food caches. Dolphins remember social relationships. But octopuses evolved along a completely different branch of the tree of life more than 500 million years ago. The last common ancestor between humans and octopuses was a simple marine organism that possessed nothing resembling a complex brain. Despite that enormous evolutionary distance, both lineages independently developed sophisticated problem-solving abilities. Scientists call this convergent evolution. It occurs when entirely different species arrive at similar solutions because they face similar challenges. Flight evolved separately in birds, bats, and insects. Complex eyes appeared multiple times across evolutionary history. Perhaps intelligence itself can evolve more than once. If that is true, the octopus represents one of evolution's most extraordinary experiments. But intelligence is only part of the story. The animal's ability to disappear may be even more astonishing. Most creatures rely on camouflage by blending into a single environment. A stick insect resembles a twig. A snowshoe hare turns white during winter. An octopus does something entirely different. Within fractions of a second, it can transform both its color and the texture of its skin. One moment it resembles smooth sand, the next, rough coral. Moments later, a patch of dark rock covered in algae. This transformation happens so quickly that predators and sometimes even divers struggle to see it occur. The secret lies in millions of specialized pigment cells known as chromatophores, working together with reflective cells and tiny muscles beneath the skin. The result is one of the most advanced camouflage systems ever evolved. But here is where the mystery deepens. Octopuses are believed to be colorblind. They likely cannot perceive colors the way humans do. So how can an animal accurately match colors it may not even see? Researchers still debate the answer. Some suggest that octopuses detect differences in light polarization or analyze brightness patterns rather than color itself. Others believe the unusual shape of their pupils allows them to gather visual information in ways humans cannot. Whatever the mechanism, the result appears almost impossible. An animal incapable of seeing the world as we do somehow produces camouflage that consistently fools creatures that can. Again, the familiar assumptions begin to break down. The deeper scientists investigate, the stranger the picture becomes. Another behavior puzzled researchers for decades: tool use. For many years, scientists believed that only a handful of highly intelligent animals regularly used tools. Chimpanzees use sticks to collect termites. Sea otters crack shellfish with rocks. Certain crows bend wires into hooks. Then researchers observed veined octopuses collecting discarded coconut shells from the seafloor. At first, the behavior seemed random, but careful observation revealed something remarkable. The octopus carried the shell halves across open sand, despite the effort required. When danger approached, it assembled the shells into a protective shelter and hid inside. The shells were useless while being transported. Their value existed only in the future. That required planning. Planning means sacrificing energy now for protection later. Few behaviors reveal flexible thinking more clearly than preparing for a problem that has not yet happened. Scientists became increasingly cautious about underestimating these animals. Each new study seemed to remove another boundary that humans once believed separated us from the rest of nature. Problem solving, memory, planning, tool use. Every discovery forced another revision. Yet perhaps the most unsettling discovery was still waiting. One assumption guided animal research for generations. Animals behaved according to instinct. Different individuals might vary slightly, but members of the same species were expected to respond in largely predictable ways. Octopuses challenged that idea as well. Marine biologists began noticing that no two octopuses behaved exactly alike. Some immediately investigated every unfamiliar object placed into their tanks. Others remained hidden for hours before cautiously extending a single arm. Some tolerated human presence. Others displayed what could only be described as irritation. At research facilities around the world, caretakers began reporting something unusual. Certain octopuses appeared to recognize individual people. They reacted calmly toward the researchers who regularly fed them, while behaving defensively or even mischievously toward unfamiliar visitors. One famous octopus repeatedly sprayed water at a specific laboratory employee whenever he walked past its tank, yet ignored everyone else. At first, scientists dismissed stories like these as coincidence, but similar reports continued to emerge from different aquariums and research centers. The possibility became difficult to ignore. Could an octopus distinguish one human face from another? Controlled experiments suggested the answer might be yes. When researchers consistently paired different people with different experiences, many octopuses learned to respond differently depending on who approached. Some became relaxed, others immediately withdrew. The distinction implied that they were not simply reacting to movement, they were identifying individuals. Recognition is a surprisingly sophisticated ability. To recognize someone requires building a memory, comparing new information with previous experiences, and adjusting behavior accordingly. That process forms the foundation of complex social learning in many intelligent animals. Yet octopuses are not highly social. Unlike dolphins, wolves, elephants, or humans, most octopus species spend the majority of their lives alone. They hunt alone. They defend territories alone. They rarely cooperate. This creates one of the greatest puzzles in animal cognition. Many scientists believed that advanced intelligence evolved primarily because social life demanded it. Living in groups requires remembering relationships, predicting behavior, resolving conflicts, and cooperating with others. These pressures encourage larger and more flexible brains. This idea became known as the social intelligence hypothesis. For decades, it explained the intelligence of primates, dolphins, whales, and certain birds remarkably well. Then octopuses appeared to violate the rule. How does a mostly solitary animal develop such remarkable cognitive abilities? Researchers proposed several possibilities. Perhaps surviving alone creates its own challenges. Without companions to warn of predators or share information, every decision depends entirely on the individual. An octopus must constantly evaluate unfamiliar situations, locate food, avoid danger, and adapt to changing environments without assistance. In that sense, every day becomes a series of independent problem-solving exercises. Instead of social complexity driving intelligence, environmental complexity may have done the job. That explanation fits many observations, but it still leaves another mystery. Why do octopuses sometimes appear to play? Play is surprisingly rare in nature. It consumes energy. It exposes animals to danger. It offers no immediate reward. From an evolutionary perspective, it seems inefficient. Yet, researchers have repeatedly observed octopuses interacting with floating objects, repeatedly releasing and catching bottles, shells, and even streams of water. In one well-known observation, an octopus repeatedly pushed a floating pill bottle across its tank, allowed the current to carry it back, and pushed it away again. The behavior continued for several minutes. No food was involved. No threat existed. The object offered no practical benefit. It resembled play. Scientists remain cautious about assigning human motivations. Still, behaviors like these are difficult to explain purely through instinct. Perhaps exploration itself becomes rewarding. Perhaps curiosity encourages learning. Or perhaps play represents something even deeper, a flexible mind testing the world simply because it can. Every new observation expanded the mystery. Each answer seemed to generate even more questions. And eventually, researchers found themselves confronting one of the oldest philosophical questions of all. What does it actually feel like to be an octopus? The question sounds almost impossible to answer. Does an octopus experience the world in a way that resembles human consciousness? Scientists cannot ask an octopus what it sees, what it remembers, or what it feels. They can only observe its behavior and compare it with what is known about the nervous systems of other animals. That limitation makes every conclusion uncertain. Yet uncertainty has never stopped researchers from asking difficult questions. Unlike mammals, an octopus does not spend years learning from parents or living within complex family groups. Most species hatch alone, receive no parental care, and must immediately survive in an environment filled with predators. Every lesson is learned through direct experience. Every mistake can be fatal. Despite this, an octopus develops remarkable problem-solving abilities within a lifespan that is surprisingly short. Many species live only 1 or 2 years. Think about what that means. In less time than a human toddler spends learning to speak, an octopus masters camouflage, hunting strategies, navigation, escape techniques, and environmental exploration. It achieves an extraordinary level of behavioral flexibility in a fraction of the time available to most intelligent mammals. For scientists, this raises an astonishing possibility. Perhaps intelligence does not require millions of years of social traditions or long childhoods. Perhaps evolution can assemble sophisticated cognition using entirely different biological strategies. Some researchers have even described octopus intelligence as alien, not because it came from another planet, but because it evolved so independently that it challenges nearly everything humans assumed about how minds should work. Imagine meeting another intelligent civilization that solved the problem of thinking without sharing our evolutionary history. That comparison is, in many ways, what studying an octopus feels like. Its ancestors separated from ours more than 500 million years ago. Since then, every major step in the evolution of its nervous system happened independently. Its intelligence is not a simpler version of ours. It is a different solution to the same problem. How do you survive in a dangerous and unpredictable world? The answer evolution produced inside an octopus looks nothing like the answer it produced inside a human. And yet, both solutions can solve problems, remember experiences, adapt to new situations, and interact with the environment in surprisingly flexible ways. That realization changes more than our understanding of octopuses. It changes how we think about intelligence itself. For centuries, humans imagined intelligence as a ladder. Simple organisms occupied the bottom. More advanced animals climbed higher. Humans stood at the top. Modern biology increasingly suggests something different. Intelligence may not be a ladder at all. It may be a landscape. Different environments reward different abilities. Different evolutionary histories create different kinds of minds. Birds solved intelligence one way, dolphins solved it another, primates developed yet another path. Octopuses reveal a route almost no one expected. Their existence reminds scientists that evolution is less concerned with creating the best brain than with creating one that works. Sometimes those solutions resemble our own. Sometimes they are so unfamiliar that they force us to rethink the very meaning of thought. So why do octopuses seem almost alien to scientists? The honest answer is that they combine traits that rarely appear together. A soft-bodied animal with 3 hearts, blue blood, 8 semi-independent arms, a nervous system spread throughout the body, remarkable camouflage, tool use, planning, curiosity, problem-solving, individual personalities, recognition of humans, all emerging from an evolutionary branch that diverged from ours hundreds of millions of years ago. None of these discoveries proves that octopuses think exactly like humans. In fact, the evidence suggests the opposite. Their minds may be fundamentally different, and that may be the most important lesson of all. Studying octopuses reminds us that intelligence is not defined by looking like us, behaving like us, or solving problems the way we do. Nature has had hundreds of millions of years to experiment. The octopus may be one of its greatest experiments. Perhaps the most remarkable part of the story is not that scientists continue discovering extraordinary abilities. It is that every discovery seems to reveal another mystery waiting beneath it. The deeper we explore the oceans, the more we realize that some of the strangest forms of intelligence were never hidden in distant galaxies. They were hiding beneath the waves all along. And perhaps that is why the octopus continues to fascinate scientists around the world. Not because it answers our questions about intelligence, but because it keeps asking new ones. The ocean has always been a place of mystery. Few creatures remind us of that more than the octopus. Its body, its behavior, and its mind all suggest that evolution is capable of far more creativity than we once imagined. And somewhere, beneath the surface, another octopus is exploring its world with a kind of intelligence that science is only beginning to understand.